92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate each and every one of you. I messed up, and I messed up very badly yesterday, right? I thought that I had an awesome show. I left. I felt very good about myself. I patted myself on the back and sang my own praises, as I usually do as I walk out of these doors, and I messed up. So not only do I have to retract the praises that I usually sing myself as I walk out of these doors and the pat on the back that I gave myself, I also have to make a correction. I was doing my countdowns yesterday. I was mentioning, we have X amount of days until we get to the NFL season. Isn't it exciting? We are 9 days away. Well, today now we're 8 days away, but yesterday we were 9 days away from the start of the college football season. And somehow I failed to mention or add to the idea that we had high school football returning, and we had high school football returning last night. Central High School played Walker Valley at Finley Stadium, and the game, exciting, thrilling game. Now, my buddy Patrick McCoon, who works for the Cleveland Daily Banner, who I tried to get on the show today, but was not able to get that done, to talk about the performances that happened last night, because we saw some monster numbers, right? We saw Central High School win an opening day for the first time in a while by putting up an offensive display that can, quite frankly, only be described as alarming. And the only thing that is close to as alarming as what Central High School was able to do offensively is what Walker Valley, the Mustangs, were able to do offensively. They put up huge, huge numbers. And I will go through some of these numbers today because players had to go to school today, and I thought they should have been given a day off, right? Like, if you play that well in a football game, both sides, you should just get the day off. You should just go ahead and get the day off. Also, the game finished at 12:11 in the morning, according to Stephen Hargis of the Chattanooga Times Free Press. The game finished late. My buddy was on Twitter. Patrick was just there tweeting, because the numbers that he was tweeting, they were ridiculous. And I was looking at them, and I don't even know what to say. First off, Central jumped out to a very big lead early in that game. It looked like it was going to be one of those beat-em-down performances where, you see this a lot in high school football games, where one school just comes up and they've got the juice and they're ready to go, and they jump out to an early lead, put the other team in the rearview mirror, and never look back. They jumped out to an 18-0 early lead. They took 8 plays, scored 2 touchdowns, and they were rolling, okay? They were ready to go on this one, and somebody forgot to tell Walker Valley to stay home. They decided that they wanted to join the fun too, and next thing you know, the score was 18-14, okay? But let me give you some of these numbers as the two teams wound up trading touchdowns essentially for the rest of the football game. Let me give you some of these numbers and see if this isn't mind-boggling to any of you. Both teams combined for 967 yards of total offense. They scored 5 touchdowns in the first quarter, the two teams put together. Okay? Jaheim Jones, the junior quarterback of Central High School, completed 13 of 20 passes for 200 yards and a touchdown. He also ran for 57 yards and scored a touchdown on the ground to add to the 520 yards of total offense for Central High School. Right? And then defensively, Gerard Bibbs, Central High School, 3 sacks, another tackle for a loss, a fumble recovery, and a 52-yard fumble recovery at that for a touchdown. So, just the fireworks in terms of the points being put on the board were scary. And the only thing scarier than that and Central's success on the ground is Walker Valley's quarterback, Colton Gibson. Colton Gibson was tearing it up, but he was having himself a night. Let me read you some of Colton Gibson's numbers and see if you can recall in your mind. And the phone number is 423-800-8949, 423-800-8949, Clutch with Keon Rose on Nooga Radio. If you can recall a time where the first game of a football season went anything like this. I have not lived in Chattanooga my whole life. I moved around a lot. My dad was in the Army growing up. So maybe you can remember a more memorable opening night, and I'd love to hear it. You can call in. But I will say this. I can't remember the last time I watched a high school game opening night, and I've seen a handful now, where Colton Gibson's numbers looked like this, where the numbers looked like this. Colton Gibson was 27 of 37 for 428 yards of offense. He threw 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. His wide receiver, Zeke Westfield, caught 9 of those passes for 215 yards and a pair of scores. I don't know that I've ever seen numbers that ridiculous. Dude had almost 500 yards of offense himself. 5 touchdowns through the air. No picks. That is a hell of a performance. And despite the fact that Central wound up winning the game 48-36 in their non-region victory over Walker Valley, I think it stands to reason that Walker Valley is a fairly terrifying football team, right? If Gibson's going to be putting up numbers that look like that, I think it's fair to say this is a fairly terrifying season. Right? I think that's fair. It's crazy. Now, Gerard Bibbs, who I mentioned earlier, who had the fumble recovery for the touchdown, he is the guy that put that little bit of separation between Central and Walker Valley. That touchdown gave them a little bit of breathing room. As I mentioned before, they went up 18-0, and then it became an 18-14 game. And the way that Gibson was throwing the ball, they would need every inch and every yard and every touchdown and every score. But the Pounders, Central, the running game for them was prolific. Danya Parker, Michael McGee fired it up, right? 158 yards on 15 carries for Parker and 116 yards on 17 carries for McGee. And between the two of those guys, again, nearly 300 yards of offense on the ground. Central had to overcome penalties in this game. 14 penalties for 129 yards, which means they could have had more offense. They shot themselves in the foot a number of times, which I imagine could be worrying. But if you are going to be able to run the football that well, if you are going to be able to have a lead like that, that to me speaks of a very special football team doing something very special on the opening night of the high school football season. And that to me was mind-boggling. Like, I honestly, I wish I had the opportunity to be there. But I saw the numbers. I was watching the tweets update, and I couldn't believe what it was that I was hearing. The amount of numbers, like the amount of yardage being tossed around in this game. That Colton Gibson's something special, man. 27 of 37 for 428 and 5 TDs and no interceptions, no errors on that side of the ball. That's something else. That's something else. You're going to keep an eye on Walker Valley this season and keep an eye on Central High School. And I will give you an update next Monday as to how all these games went that are being played tonight. Also, Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Now, to turn our attention to something that matters a whole lot less. NFL preseason. As I've mentioned before, any football that doesn't actually matter can be skipped. But I understand there's a bunch of people who are so into football, they will watch football even if it's bad. And last night, Thursday Night Football featured the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a game that featured Blake Bortles playing exactly how you would imagine Blake Bortles playing. Blake Bortles was awful. He had 13 pass attempts in the loss to the Buccaneers. It was a 12-8 loss. But some of those passes, quite frankly, were terrible enough to warrant a series of conversation. I was watching NBC Sportsnet this morning. I went to the gym and I see the stuff on TV. And I was watching NBC Sportsnet this morning, and I saw Blake Bortles throwing passes behind receivers. I saw him throwing passes at receivers' feet. I saw him throwing balls into the dirt. I saw him throw passes that, honestly, I'm not entirely certain what it was that he was doing and where he was going with the football. I saw a number of passes that were offensive to the game of football. And America seemed to agree. America teed off on Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles' head coach, Doug Marrone, teed off on Blake Bortles. Every analyst and whomever teed off on Blake Bortles. And it was funny because I was making fun of Blake Bortles last week and yesterday because he's easy to make fun of. It's funny if you look at his stats and his numbers, and his QBR is terrible. Like, you see all this stuff. To me, it's just humor. So I wasn't making fun of Blake Bortles as a serious assessment of the man's life. But people have jumped on this making fun of Blake Bortles thing. And I have to wonder if we are treating this a little bit, if we are going a little bit too harshly on Mr. Bortles, right? But he was drafted 3rd overall by the Jaguars, who thought he was the guy that could fix their offensive problems. And he has turned out to be everything but that. And he's got the build of your prototypical quarterback. I think Blake Bortles suffers, again, from having all the tangibles, from having all the measurables that you would like in a quarterback. He's big. He's got a strong arm. He's built like Ben Roethlisberger. He won in college. He won in high school. But now the success is not there. And so people are looking at this guy, and there's a little bit of a dissonance. There's a dissonance there because you're looking at a guy that looks like he should be good at football and a guy who is actually not actually good at football, at least not at the NFL level. And so you're wondering, what do you do with him? Do you try and fix him because the Jaguars believed in Blake Bortles, picked up that 5th-year option for him, which means that they are essentially, if Blake Bortles is on the roster at the end of this season, before the start of the next league year, Blake Bortles will be owed $20 million. And now, I am not a guy who assesses talent. I am not a scout, but I can't imagine the thing that Blake Bortles is doing and is calling playing quarterback can warrant anywhere in the ballpark of $20 million. It's not a $20 million thing that he is doing, okay? Plain and simple. But the Jags already picked up the option, and their offensive line is terrible. So the situation now becomes, if Blake Bortles actually gets injured in the process of this, and we actually saw this with the Redskins and Robert Griffin III, his last season with them, where he didn't play, and the Skins essentially bubble wrapped him and said, no, you don't get to play here. You will stand on the sideline, and you will not be injured because we're not about to pay you $20 million either. This is where the Jags are with Blake Bortles, where essentially if he gets injured, they cannot release him because he is injured. And he would essentially be owed $20 million by the Jaguars. The Jaguars, I believe, must move on from Blake Bortles now. Last season, I remember being a proponent of giving Blake Bortles an entire season of a chance to see how good he could possibly be. And Blake Bortles was very good in garbage time of games, but he was not very good in close games. In fact, the worst quarterback rating in close games in the history of the last 10 years of this league has been none other than Mr. Blake Bortles. I mean, all the numbers say you can't win football games with this guy. You've got to move on. And it sucks for the Jaguars, who don't want to give up on somebody that they moved up in the draft to get, in a draft where there was Derek Carr and they could have gotten him and did not, in a draft where there was Teddy Bridgewater and they could have gotten him and did not. Johnny Manziel was also in that draft, but obviously if you had to choose between Blake Bortles and Johnny Manziel, Blake Bortles is at least still in the league. So you've got that going for you, which is pretty nice. Other than that, I don't know where you win here if you're the Jags. But the thing is, when people talk about swapping out Blake Bortles and moving on from Blake Bortles, who do you move on to? You know, swapping out Blake Bortles, who do you move on for? I would say Colin Kaepernick, but I'm trying not to beat the very dead horse. Your backup quarterback is Chad Henne, a guy that I think can play the position decently well, but Chad Henne has the same quarterback rating since 2008 that Blake Bortles has. So where's the upgrade? The Chad Henne is not an upgrade from Blake Bortles. He just isn't. If you're going to start Henne, you might as well start Blake Bortles if you're not going to release him and you're not thinking of, well, if the $20 million is not a problem to you playing Blake Bortles for that, and you don't think he will be injured, then what you have to do essentially is say, let's play Bortles. Like, what could you lose if your other option is Chad Henne, whose quarterback rating is the same? It's the same. You have no upgrades here. Now, again, I could beat the dead horse that is Colin Kaepernick. I do believe Colin Kaepernick is a better quarterback than Blake Bortles. And I do believe that Colin Kaepernick is a better quarterback than Chad Henne. And we'll get into the politics of Colin Kaepernick because other players now have been protesting in various different ways. And I think that given the climate of America at the moment, that I think it is important to talk about. I will get there. But I just wonder, and I am fascinated by the idea that if you are the Jaguars and you have to move on from Blake Bortles, there's a perfectly good quarterback that people won't touch for deeply political reasons that is out there for you if winning is the actual thing that is important to you. Because you're in a division of football where the Texans run the division, and they run the division despite not having a quarterback. Now they have Deshaun Watson, but we don't know if he'll play this year. You play in a division where the Colts don't know what it is that they're doing. They're killing Andrew Luck and his career by not understanding how to rehab a shoulder correctly and report injuries properly. And then you've got the Titans, who we assume will just fill up the vacuum of weakness in the AFC South, but we don't actually know. Right? We don't actually know. And so you feel, if you're Jacksonville and you've been building this team for a while and you've put together, at the very least, one heck of a defense, right? I thought that that's the way the Jaguars designed the team, right? That they got Blake Bortles and thought, well, Blake is going to be our guy. It may take him some time to develop, but he's our dude. So let's go ahead and build up a defense that gets him the ball. And if at the very best Blake Bortles turns out to be average and not bad, then we have a defense that can get him back the ball, and all he has to do is not lose football games. The issue here is that Blake Bortles is out here losing football games left and right. He got booed off the field last night in a preseason game. I've never seen a guy get booed in a preseason game. Never. And there have been plenty of places where you could get booed in a preseason game. Let's start with Philadelphia. The Eagles fans boo everyone. These are a group of people who booed Santa on Christmas. That if any city could have a quarterback booed in a preseason game, it would be that city. Never seen it. Never seen it. The Browns, who have plenty to boo in the department of quarterbacks, never have booed a quarterback in the preseason. The Bears, again, a team that has plenty to boo in the department of quarterback, never booed their own guy in the preseason. Nobody boos their own guy in the preseason. I've never seen it. Blake Bortles literally got booed off the field in a game that matters to absolutely no one in a city that is a small market. It's crazy. They've tried to give Blake Bortles everything. They've given him decent receivers, Allen Robinson, Allen Hurns. They've given him Leonard Fournette. They tried to give him a running game and a guy who's a pretty decent blocking receiver. They've given him some semblance of an offensive line. Let's not act like Jacksonville's offensive line is terrible. It ain't great, but it's not bad, right? It's hardly the 2000 era David Carr, Houston Texans offensive line. This is an offensive line that is competent. You've got good, if you have a good quarterback, this offensive line should work. It should work. You don't have a good quarterback. They've given Blake Bortles a defense to back him up. The problem with the Jacksonville Jaguars does appear to be Blake Bortles, which stinks to come to that realization, because I see Blake Bortles, right? For his eternal credit, when we come down on a guy for just being bad, you usually come down on him for a number of reasons. Like, he's not putting in the work. He's not really trying. He seems disengaged, right? Like, that's the stuff that we don't like Jay Cutler for. Jay Cutler seems disengaged. He seems like he doesn't care. Johnny Manziel, not putting in the work. It's like, no wonder you stink. You don't put in the work, right? Even a guy like Tim Tebow, where he's got this funky throw in motion, and it's just like, I know you're working hard, but like, you look terrible. This is one of those things where Blake Bortles pretty much entirely looks the part. Sure, Blake Bortles' mechanics could use some work, and it's gotten slightly better since last year, like just the look of it. But you tear him apart because the results just aren't there. And I feel bad for Blake Bortles in a sort of way, because I see the effort that he's put in. I see the effort. He's trying. He's watching the film. He's hitting the field with his receivers. He's going into the gym. He's doing everything you expect a guy who wants to be good to do. But as Chris Sims said on NBC on Pro Football Talk this morning, Chris Sims said, Blake Bortles was not put on this earth to throw the football. It's possible in 7th, 8th grade, he looked the part, and he's been looking the part ever since. And finally, he's in the NFL, and it ain't pretty. It ain't pretty. He's probably right. Blake Bortles, not put on this earth to throw the football. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM on Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com. It's your favorite thing coming up next. Race stuff.
Three, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Carol Gaddy, a 69-year-old woman from the Dunlap area, held as a political prisoner in Hamilton County, day 5. Langston, a victim of a shooting on South Kelly Street on Monday, died of his injuries on Thursday, turning his attempted murder case into a murder case. The Violent Crimes Bureau is investigating. And 20-year-old Tyler Thomas was shot on Oakland Avenue. He was rushed to the hospital by EMS, and the Violent Crimes Bureau is investigating. A box truck from Penske was stolen at the American Stage Company on Tennessee Avenue, and the company was able to track down its location thanks to a GPS transponder hidden inside. Charles Eric Brown was arrested on McGill Cemetery Road, charged with theft over $65,000. He denied knowing anything about the burglary, but his parents said they saw him driving the truck. A fight broke out between two students at Orchard Knob Middle School. One was arrested by the SRO, the other treated for minor injuries, not hospitalized. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's fast forecast now. Temperatures going down for our evening, down to 76, high today of 90. But as the sun goes down, should get down to a pleasant temperature. Overnight, there's a very minute possibility of isolated thunderstorms throughout the Chattanooga area, but not high enough to worry about. If you're wondering about the weekend, well, highs in the 90s, Sunday 93, very hot, low 71. For the eclipse on Monday, partly cloudy, possibly obscuring your vision. That's your fast forecast now.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Jim lost 84 pounds of fat in just 3 months. 84 pounds of fat in just 3 months without a single powdered meal or shake, no diet pills, no gimmicks. He is a cardiac nurse, and he knew that if he didn't do something, he would be the next one laying on the table getting stents in his heart. RSVP now to join us for our free health and wellness seminar at 240-440-1379. This will be our only seminar in Chattanooga, 240-440-1379.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339. When you shop online for a weapon, you avoid the sales tax. But now you can buy local at Shooter Supply, and you'll do just as well, if not better. Here's how. 10% off of ammo and accessories, or 20% off of the handgun permit class, or you can get 20% off the range membership. You duck the taxes online, and at Shooters, you do even better. And let Shooter's consignment program turn that rifle into cold, hard cash. Shooter Supply, Hickson. Shooters Supply, Hickson.
I have the best steak selection in town. The name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
This is Thomas DeMoss with Keller Williams Realty. I am a realtor in Chattanooga. We list and sell homes, work with buyers, work with home sellers. I have been involved in real estate for over 10 years. My background is as a real estate investor. That is what I bring to the table, is that real estate investor mindset. My job is to help you sell your house for the most money, employing the best marketing strategy and walking you through what can be a rather stressful process. So we are encouraging people who are on the fence or even thought about selling their house to give us a call. There's no obligation. We're just here to kind of have a conversation, let people know what the process is like, what the market is like, what values they can expect to receive. We work with buyers as well. I also have a buyer's agent that works exclusively with my buyers because we want to give our clients as much attention as we can. My cell phone number is 423-364-0028. Our website is northriverpropertygroup.com. That's northriverpropertygroup.com. We'd love for you guys to call us.
Hi, I'm David Crockett, and I'm here with David Tulis, and we're having a little discussion over who's the number one Nooga centrist. If you want to keep up with free market ideas, then read Nooganomics.com. David Tulis, the blogger with the biggest pen.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree. Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio.
You're listening to AM 1240 and 92.7 FM, and you're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose here on Nooga Radio and NoogaRadio.com. It's an interesting position to be in on this station because I follow Sean Hannity, and I respect Sean as a broadcaster, and he's an incredible broadcaster. I disagree with him fairly often because he has just a different life experience and different opinions than I do. And the great thing about America is that we can all express our opinions differently. And I think the great thing about Nooga Radio, this station here, is that I have never once been told what I can and cannot talk about and what I can and cannot say. And this is important because I am a black person in America, and I am trying my best to be as open-minded as humanly possible and to cover sports as best as I can. Like those are my two objectives when I come on the air, is to be open-minded and to cover sports as best as I can. And I try my best as well to leave things that tend to be political and tend to be racial and tend to be religious out of sports. But I cannot all the time. Sometimes these things just intersect and you don't have a choice, right? Like I cannot talk about Hugh Freeze and Hugh Freeze's indiscretions and what that means for Ole Miss football without bringing up the fact that Hugh Freeze is a Christian, and therefore bringing up what it is about Christianity that makes what he did so horrendous. Don't have a choice. Don't want to drag religion into everything. Don't have a choice on that one. It's not really up to me. As well, I don't necessarily want to drag race and race identity into every conversation. I don't think it belongs in every conversation. But there are some places where this intersects, and it's not up to me. It is ingrained in the story, and it's as much a part of the story as anything else. It's as much a part of the story as anything out there, and I have to bring it up. And so I'm talking about this because, first off, I don't actually have any problems bringing up race. Don't get me wrong. I'll talk about race with you all day. If you meet me on the streets and start up any conversation about politics and racial politics, like, trust me, I have opinions for days. I do it for the sake of the listener who uses sports as an escape to not necessarily bring it into every single conversation. I do it for your sake. I don't do it for mine. I could do this all day and still have room to spare. But for your sake, I try not to drag it into everything. But I unfortunately do not think I have a choice today, because we are living in a time in America where race is the topic of everything, right? Like, just last year, when you talked about politics, race was not the topic of politics every story last year. I can't think of a story that I've read this week where race wasn't at least a huge part of the story, right? Anything involving the president in the last 7 days, race has been a huge part of the story and has been at least some overarching part of the story for his entire presidency thus far, which feels much longer than it actually is. But one thing that we're going to see as a result of this is more politics and more racial identity in our sports, because when those two things end up being tied together, your sports, whether you like it or not, or whether you realize it or not, or whether it's something you focus on or not, are played by people. And they are played by people who are affected in the same way that you are. And while you turn to sports for an escape, they turn to sports oftentimes, this being their job and all, as a platform, as a place where they can tell you their grievances, where they can tell you what's wrong, where they can tell you, hey, pay attention to this issue. This is the only place that I can put this, that I believe that you will see it. And I believe it is important enough that I'm going to do this. And so while Colin Kaepernick has gotten the lion's share of the limelight for his protest, Colin Kaepernick, by the way, far from the only guy who's protested. There's plenty of other guys who have protested who, by the way, are still playing and still have their jobs. The idea that Colin Kaepernick was the guy that was first and the guy that did not ask for permission, I think is the reason why he can't find anything. And that he also plays the position of quarterback, which is the most attention-grabbing, headline-grabbing position out there. I think all of those things play into that as well. But guys like Michael Bennett have had their protest. The Denver Broncos have had their protest. The Seattle Seahawks all came out last year, and they were all holding hands as a team and as a sign of solidarity. And Malcolm Jenkins of the Philadelphia Eagles has been raising his fist through the national anthem all season, or all of last season and the beginning of this season, this preseason so far. So you are going to see this more as a result, because one thing about being black in America is this, at least from my point of view. I'm going to give you my point of view. The number is 423-800-8949-8949 if you have a different point of view. But my point of view, when you are black in America, is that people do not see, or at least do not want to see, black problems. And that's where it initially starts. And there's a melancholy and there's a sadness that surrounds that feeling. The feeling of wanting to be seen, of having problems and having issues, and it appears as though either nobody wants to see it or that nobody can see it, but it doesn't matter, right? That if you consider yourself to be a human being and you make an appeal to other human beings and they simply ignore your appeal, that feels awful. A protest is supposed to grab your attention. A protest is supposed to rattle the cage and say whatever it is that you want about Colin Kaepernick's protest. It was ultimately successful because these are issues that we are still talking about 365 days later. That it worked. It got you to look. And that's all that it's for, is look. Because once you look, what we're betting on is that you have to pay attention to this and that you have to have the conversation with us about our problems. One of which is, being shot by the police is not very cool. It just stop killing us. Is that cool? Is that all right? Is that enough to ask? Is that too much to ask? And that's all this is about. And that's a problem. And that's a problem that you should want everybody to see. And you really feel like you shouldn't have to kneel during the national anthem to get people to pay attention to your problem. Because I guarantee you, if these shootings happen and some of these police, not all police, but the police who were wrong in their shootings, and we know which ones were on camera that were caught especially, if those police had been convicted of what it was that they had done, if they had not gotten off scot-free, we don't have these protests. We don't have the feeling that our problems that are very real to us as black people in America, we don't have that feeling that nobody else is hearing us. We don't have that feeling that nobody is paying attention. Right? You've got to have that feeling that someone's paying attention. Otherwise, you're going to see this more and more. Look at the problem. We're men just like you're men, and we need your help to solve this problem, but we can't even get your help because we're struggling to get your attention. And then when somebody has an opinion, Michael Bennett has an opinion, and what happens to him is he sits down and protests during the national anthem, and a local columnist asks him to quit football if he wants to have political opinions. As though pro sports being your job eliminates you from the discourse of things that affect your life every single day. That you are somehow less of a man because you both play sports and have an opinion. I mean, that's insanity. That's insanity. You want the protest to stop? Pay attention. Speak up. Call your congressman. Call your senator. I don't know. Find somebody of color in this city and become their friend. That's how this stuff goes away. Because at the moment, there is a feeling that nobody is watching. Nobody cares when we have problems, especially when our problems are just, you say they're politics. And the reason why I separate racial identity and politics is because they're not the same thing, right? Your politics is, who did you vote for? Who do you support? Are you a liberal? Are you a conservative? Are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? That's your politics, right? This is not politics. This is, I want to be treated the same as you. I don't want to have to be afraid of police officers because the one police officer in 10 that's completely out of his gourd is more likely to shoot me as a black person than somebody else. Right? And I'm pro-police as anybody. I don't think it's all police, but I think that when you have a police officer who should not have his post, race does play a part into what ends up happening next. You have people who are black and unarmed being shot. And then when you try and say something and you have a platform to say it on, people tell you to shut up and go away. Like, it's not bad enough that the problem's being ignored and that it's not being talked about to the level that it ought to be discussed. Like, what solutions do we have? How do we weed out cops that shouldn't be cops? How do we protect all of America's citizens? How do we do that? We're not having those conversations. And so somebody with a platform decides, I'm going to put this in your face until you talk about it. And what do you tell that person? You tell that person to shut up. So now, not only you are ignoring the problem, not only are you ignoring the person who has the problem, but you are actively saying, I don't care about your problem. Let me watch my football in peace. So you're going to see more of this. Now, something that happened last night that I thought was very amazing and very impressive was Malcolm Jenkins put his fist up during the national anthem, and his teammate, defensive end Chris Long, made a statement of support by putting his arm around Malcolm Jenkins' shoulder and raised his fist as well. Chris Long, of course, is white. And I think that matters, right? Like, because this is what I'm saying. This is somebody else who maybe can't solve the problem, right? Like, I don't look at every person on the street and go, well, how come white people aren't solving all our problems? Like that, you can't all solve the problems, right? Like, nobody can all solve the problems. But you can solve one problem. That problem being, I hear you. I hear your pain. I understand your worries. I don't know how to fix this either, but I hear you. What if a columnist who saw an athlete protesting wrote that? Instead of writing this trash about quit football if you want to have opinions, which is just the stupidest thing. What about that job precludes you from having opinions? Instead of writing that trash, why don't you write, I hear your problems. I see you. Because that's really what anybody wants. When you have a problem, right? When you get injured, what is worse? What is worse when you are hurt than having somebody suggest that you are faking an injury? What is worse than having somebody suggest that your problems are not real, they are transparent, and that they are invisible? What is worse than that feeling? I don't know. There's very few things that you can do to the psyche of an entire group of people that's worse than that feeling. What you're essentially saying is, no, I don't care about your problems. I don't understand your problems. Your problems are not real to me. They affect you and only you. They're not real to me. Get this out of my face. And let me watch my football. And I cannot stand that. Right? And the NFL, look, if you don't want people to sit during the national anthem, put it in the rule book. The guys aren't breaking any rules that you have. Put it in your rule book. The NBA's got it in their rule book. Like, notice that there are more black players in the NBA on a percentage basis than in the NFL. Nobody sat during the national anthem in the NBA. Why? It's in the rule book. Everybody's standing. We're not doing this. But the owners don't want to come off as being controlling while wanting to be controlling. And we've had a number of players say, I want to protest too, right? I hurt too. I want America to see me too. But the issue is whether or not my protest is going to cost me money, right? That I'm in a contract season. If I protest, I might find myself like Colin Kaepernick without having a team. So what the NFL owners get to do now is control your behavior without explicitly controlling your behavior. And that's sneaky underhandedness I don't like. I have a huge problem with that. If you want to control behavior, explicitly control it. You've got rules for everything else. You've got rules for how much dancing a person can do before it's considered excessive celebration. You have rules for how much you can say to a referee before you get tossed out of a game. But you don't have rules explicitly stating whether or not a person can sit and stand during the national anthem, but you strongly suggest that they stand, and you're going to mess with their money and you're going to mess with their contract negotiations as a way of handling that rather than making the actual rule and just being clear that this is not something that you accept. Of which people will get more creative, by the way, in how to protest, right? Because you can protest for something that is general. You can protest to just say, look, there are too many people that look like me who have been killed. I have a problem with that because I could be killed as easily as they could be killed. There's got to be more players that step up. I mean, more players who aren't black that step up, because that is the beginning of that whole process. There's a healing process that's got to happen here. It has to happen. You have to be seen. The problem with being black in America, the biggest problem from my life experience and in my opinion, is that it feels like you're not being seen. And when you bring a problem to somebody, when you mention a problem to somebody who is not black, they act like they don't see your problem. They act like your problem is imaginary. They act like your problem is made up. You're not making this stuff up. To the point where being ignored hurts as much as the actual problem. Like, it's not bad enough that there's some bad apple cops out there and that those bad apple cops are more likely to shoot black people. It's not bad enough that that problem exists. That you got to go out there and when you tell somebody that that problem exists, you get every number of excuses in the book Except, you know what? That is terrible. That does stink. What can we do about that? The empathy meter in this country is broken. It's broken. And you can say whatever you want, millennials this, millennials that. It's been broken for a while. When you look at how far we've had to come, and then you look around this country, and you look at Charlottesville, Virginia, and you look at all of these other things, and you go, I thought we came farther than this. I thought we did. You look at the trash that columnist is writing, and that people have been saying about protests by athletes, that, you know what? You shut up. You have a political opinion, find another job, even though there is nothing in the rules that says that he has to find another job, and that athletes are human beings too, that there's a dehumanizing aspect to this. There's a dehumanizing aspect when you tell someone to go away, and when you ignore problems that are there right in front of your face, like right in front of your football. Almost all of America watches football. The problem is right in front of your face and you ignore it. That is dehumanizing. And you're going to continue to see protests until the problem is recognized, which, by the way, is not the same as fixing the problem, but recognized, which is the bare minimum that anybody could do. It's the lowest possible bar to clear of helping people claim their humanity back, is just recognizing. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
You've been in a wreck.
756-6400.
You've been wrongfully fired.
756-6400.
A turkey is suing you out of the blue.
756-6400.
Confused about a business startup?
756-6400.
That's the number for you. 756-6400. Right here, right now, Chattanooga. Call now. Top flight legal help awaits. Get biz advice now. Representation to fight for your right. What are you waiting for? That's 756-6400. Don't sit on your rights. You've got remedies. Turn your tragedy into cash. You've got the solution, from estate planning all the way to probate. Act now. Top attorneys in Chattanooga are waiting to help you get relief. Act now. No out of pocket. You don't pay a dime until we win, so win with us.
756-6400.
Call now. Top flight legal help awaits. What are you waiting for? That's 756-6400. Turn your tragedy into cash. Act now. No out of pocket. You don't pay a dime until we win, so win with us.
756-6400.
756-6400.
I'm Thomas DeMoss, and we've got the cash. We will buy your house today. Need to sell your house? We want to buy your house, and we have the cash to do it. Call me now, 423-834-7321. That's 423-834-7321. We've been buying houses in the Chattanooga market for 10 years. We are local, and we can help. There's no obligations, only solutions. iBuyChattanoogaHouses.com. I'm Thomas DeMoss, and we've got the cash.
Does your business have enough clients? Are you confused about how to stand out in today's saturated social media market? Do you feel lost trying to navigate the maze of marketing channels which are necessary in today's marketplace? Are you fed up with spending your time and money on employees who don't perform and marketing strategies that don't produce? Then you need Cindy's Choice. Cindy will solve your marketing problems with her innovative shared marketing management concept that will allow your business to have the benefits of a full-time employee that is actually out building relationships in the community on behalf of your brand. Cindy's low monthly rate includes advertising, employee management, public relations, and creative marketing strategies that produce. Cindy can bring this all to you at a rate lower than most advertising campaigns and for much less than the cost of hiring a marketing employee. Cindy's Choice is your trusted source, and Cindy will manage it all for you.
Hi, I'm Cindy. I focus on the prospect so you can focus on the project. Call me at 423-661-4445. That's 423-661-4445. So you can become Cindy's Choice.
And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is the field lines failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. By preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family. That happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
Hi, this is Nadia behind the green door. You've had ice cream and you've had shaved ice, but have you had snow cream? It is amazing. It's light, airy, fruity snowflakes melting on your tongue. You need to come and see us. Highway 58, green door next to Hardee's.
My name is Trevor Atchley. I'm an attorney here with the law firm McCoon, Williams, Atchley, and Stanley. We have a show on Nooga Radio called Legal Bites, where we discuss legal topics of interest to our listeners: estate planning, business formation, and business transactions. Legal Bites, 11 a.m. on Wednesday.
It is Eric Jones hard into the outside wall, and they are still 3 and 4 wide. It looks like we're racing at Talladega.
Caution flag is out. It looked like Denny Hamlin was trying to get by Ricky Stenhouse. Got into the back of Ricky at the line. Man, that's a close one. Matt Kenseth wins stage 1.
Green checkered flag is out, and Brad Keselowski has won stage 2.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. into the wall. That will bring out the caution. Caution waving once again. And again, it's Dale Earnhardt Jr. involved.
Oh, trouble. Ty Dillon has gotten turned to the inside of the racetrack, and Clint Boyer has just nailed him.
Matt Kenseth falling back. The field storming by. Something wrong. Now we see sparks from Kenseth's Toyota.
Larson chops him off. Coming off turn number 2. Nose to tail. Now it's Logano to the high side in 3.
Joey Logano, a winner here at the Richmond International Raceway.
Hear it live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
The voice of NASCAR.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree. Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio.
Charge! Get back there, you dang Yankee! Great horny toads, I'm up north. Gonna burn my boots. They touched Yankee soil. Lay down your arms and
WBLZ HD4 Ottawa, W224AZ Chattanooga, WSDT Sunny Daisy Chattanooga.
Goodbye, Steve Bannon.
White House says today is his last day.
Investigators try to put together all the pieces of those terrorist attacks in Spain that left 14 dead, including an American.
We have now received word and confirmed the death of one American citizen.
This is the CBS World News Roundup Late Edition. I'm Sam Litzinger. Some conservatives say President Trump has made a big mistake, but others are saying the move was overdue. In either case, Steve Bannon is no longer his senior advisor. CBS News correspondent Stephen Portnoy.
The ouster is deeply disappointing to many in the president's base. Conservative activist Jessie Jane Duff was one of 20 grassroots leaders who wrote Mr. Trump this week, urging him not to fire Bannon.
He was trying to unite the core supporters to continue to keep Trump on message with what we elected him to do.
Bannon famously clashed with those inside the White House whom he derided as globalists. Rumors abound about what the former Breitbart News chief might do next. Duff hopes Bannon remains an advocate for the president.
He does not want to see Trump fail, because if Trump fails, that means the country fails.
Stephen Portnoy, CBS News, the White House.
University of Virginia political analyst Larry Sabato.
Bannon was divisive within the White House, and he had loads of enemies on the staff, but he was there for a reason. He told Donald Trump things Donald Trump wanted to hear, and one wonders whether that's changed.
For one thing, Bannon is now back running the conservative website Breitbart News. White House says President Trump has been in touch with the Spanish prime minister after 14 people were killed in vehicle attacks in Spain. Mr. Trump is promising full U.S. support. CBS News correspondent Elaine Cobb in Barcelona says a popular tourist area of the city became a terrorist target.
U.S. intelligence have already been telling the Spanish before this attack that they were concerned that it could be a target. French counterintelligence officers told me the same thing late last year when they said somewhere like Barcelona is a perfect target for those who want to hit at large groups of people in a random way, and particularly people out enjoying themselves.
Secretary of State Rex Tillerson says one American was among those killed.
We're still confirming the injuries and deaths of others, but obviously we express our deepest sympathies to the loved ones of this individual.
Police shot and killed 5 suspects and arrested 4 others. ISIS claims responsibility for the attacks. President Trump and his top national security aides have been meeting at Camp David trying to formulate an effective new Afghanistan strategy after 16 frustrating and deadly years of war. The administration has struggled for months to come up with a plan to turn things around. The U.S. now has about 8,400 troops in Afghanistan. On Wall Street, the Dow closed down 76 points. The NASDAQ dropped 5. Now this.
If you're familiar with cloud computing, you probably know that Amazon Web Services offers a complete set of secure compute, storage, application, and deployment services that help companies launch and scale their IT infrastructures while lowering costs. But did you know that you're still responsible for protecting your own AWS-based assets, meaning your applications and data, from advanced cyber threats? Protect your AWS with Barracuda Network's advanced firewall solutions. Visit AWS Marketplace or barracuda.com/AWS to learn more.
If you are behind on your bills, then this message is for you. How would you like to have a large portion of your credit card debt or medical bills forgiven? National Credit Card Relief would like to give you free information on a proven debt forgiveness program. It's not bankruptcy. It's not consolidation. This special program actually wipes clean the portion of your debt that is forgiven. Call for your free forgiveness information now. 800-291-6670. That's 800-291-6670. Don't wait. Call 800-291-6670. Not available in North Dakota.
In Richmond, Virginia, a funeral for Virginia State Trooper pilot Burke M.M. Bates, who was killed when a police helicopter crashed during a white supremacist rally in Charlottesville last weekend. Governor Terry McAuliffe.
He inspired us every day. He made us laugh every day. I will miss him greatly.
Lieutenant H.J. Cullen was also killed in the crash. Charlottesville Mayor Mike Signer is asking for an emergency meeting of state lawmakers to confirm the city's right to remove a statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. Governor McAuliffe says no, but Signer says he wants to send a clear message to white supremacists.
If they thought they were going to intimidate a city away from being a diverse, tolerant, innovative city where everybody can be exactly who they want to be, they picked the wrong city.
The governor says he wants to let the legal actions in this case proceed, so he doesn't want to call a special session of state lawmakers yet. You're listening to CBS World News Roundup.
Three, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Carol Gaddy, a 69-year-old woman from the Dunlap area, held as a political prisoner in Hamilton County, day 5. Langston, the victim of a shooting on South Kelly Street on Monday, died of his injuries on Thursday, turning his attempted murder case into a murder case. The Violent Crimes Bureau is investigating. And 20-year-old Tyler Thomas was shot on Oakland Avenue. He was rushed to the hospital by EMS, and the Violent Crimes Bureau is investigating. A box truck from Penske was stolen at the American Stage Company on Tennessee Avenue, and the company was able to track down its location thanks to a GPS transponder hidden inside. Charles Eric Brown was arrested on McGill Cemetery Road, charged with theft over $65,000. He denied knowing anything about the burglary, but his parents said they saw him driving the truck. A fight broke out between 2 students at Orchard Knob Middle School. One was arrested by the SRO, the other treated for minor injuries, not hospitalized. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
If you're taking medication for high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or even diabetes, you can't afford to miss our free health seminar on Saturday, August the 19th. Our clients have been able to come off thousands of medications without diet pills, powdered meals, or shakes, or any gimmicks. Space is limited, and this will be our only seminar in Chattanooga. So call right now to reserve your space at 240-440-1379. That's 240-440-1379.
AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's Fast Forecast now. Temperatures going down for our evening, down to 76, high today of 90. But as the sun goes down, should get down to a pleasant temperature. Overnight, there's a very minute possibility of isolated thunderstorms throughout the Chattanooga area, but not high enough to worry about. If you're wondering about the weekend, well, highs in the 90s, Sunday 93, very hot, low 71. For the eclipse on Monday, partly cloudy, possibly obscuring your vision. That's your Fast Forecast now.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
You're listening to AM 1240 and 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose. And look, I am a person that I have a lot of opinions on things, which makes me perfect for this particular industry, I guess. But I can only tell you what I know from my own experiences that I have lived. And so the things that I'm saying, I feel are very real. And I have talked to a number of black people. There's a joke that, we all get together at a meeting and talk about these things, but that's not true. But you do have friends that you talk to, and you talk about how you feel and how the country makes you feel and how you feel when you're out in the streets and all of these things. And it's real. That feeling of being ignored is real. And for some people, it manifests as rage. For others, it manifests as hope, as this belief that maybe things will actually get better, and maybe things get worse before they get better. I take the side of the melancholy on this one. I take the side of I feel brought down by it. I feel hurt by it. I don't necessarily feel empowered to try and even begin to start some of these conversations, because it feels like so few people want to have them. They are uncomfortable conversations to have. They're not fun. And I find them interesting. I find them interesting because I'd like to see how it is that someone who is different from me sees the world, how someone who is different from me experiences the problems that I experience. Do they experience my problems as problems? But ignoring it is not the thing that fixes any of this. We don't get to have a conversation if you ignore it, right? And I think that that's where we need to begin with that. So, yeah, the goal is not to bring anybody down. The goal is to express an actual need, an actual desire, that not unlike the players on whatever team it is that they are on, they're going out there and they're doing these protests, and they've got a platform. I've got a platform too. I've got a microphone in front of my face. I reach a decent amount of people, and I got to say something. I feel the same pain that they feel. I feel the same hurt that they feel. And the only thing worse than that is being told by a number of people that it's not real, right? That you're either making it up or you're hallucinating. You're either crazy or you're lying. Like that can't be the only two options. You're trying to ignore that other people are hurting around you because you cannot see the pain and don't want to find it. I mean, that's deeply problematic. Like, we're not going to get anywhere with that kind of thinking. We just can't. And so we will have probably another story like that later in the show, because Memphis Grizzlies head coach has some very interesting opinions on Confederate statues, and that's been a big topic in the news lately, as everybody's been rushing to try and figure out how to take theirs down. So we'll get into all of that stuff later on. And this is a conversation. If you ever disagree, if you ever want to speak your mind, like, we can debate, we can even agree to disagree, but it gives us a launching off point when we talk about it, when we don't act like it's fake, when we don't act like it's not happening. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. So I want to give a quick recap, though, because last night, very very good football game was played. Central High School, Walker Valley, Finley Stadium, the opening night of high school football, and it was one to remember with numbers that will blow your mind. Just stat lines that don't make any sense. The two offenses punched back and forth, trading punches, and what I found to be the most fascinating about the playing styles is that they were so different, right? Walker Valley came in, Colton Gibson throwing the ball all over the place. Dude can spin the rock. And he had huge passing numbers. Central High School, a lot of success with the football on the ground. And the game went until midnight, after midnight, actually, 12:11 a.m., and all of those players, for whatever reason, still have to go to school the next day, which is unbelievable to me. If I had a late night in high school playing video games, there was no way. You know what I mean? There's no way I was coming to school, much less playing a football game in which 967 total yards of offense were registered. The game featured 5 touchdowns in the first quarter and never really slowed down from that point. Central quarterback Jaheim Jones, a junior, 13 of 20, passing the football, 200 yards, 1 touchdown, ran for another touchdown and 57 more yards as well, in addition to the 520 yards of offense that his team put up for Central High School and the Pounders. Defensive lineman Gerard Bibbs also recovered a fumble, which he returned for 52 yards and a touchdown also to add to that score. So that on the Central High School side, both offense and defense getting it done to punch it in. The running game for Central, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, right? Couple of juniors, Danya Parker and Michael McGee, carried the momentum of the game. Parker finished with 158 yards, 15 carries. McGee finished with 116 yards on 17 carries. And Walker Valley decided to go through the air, right? Quarterback Colton Gibson. That guy. I don't know how you stop that guy. Listen to this stat line and tell me if this does not sound absolutely preposterous to you. 27 of 37, 428 yards, and 5 touchdowns. No interceptions. That sounds like and feels like a really good Aaron Rodgers day to me. Like when you look at like the Packers and the Packers beat somebody like 45 to 15, and you're like, oh, how did that happen? And then you look at the stat line and Aaron Rodgers, 27 of 37, 5. Like it felt like that. That was such a next level stat line. I couldn't believe it. I was following my friend Patrick McCoon, who writes for the Cleveland Daily Banner on Twitter, and he was at the game and he was live tweeting, and you can follow him. He's a good follow. He gets to a lot of local games and covers them. And if you're not able to get out to the game, you get these updates. Good to follow. I think I'm going to do that, actually. I think I'm going to do a show this upcoming week of good follows on Twitter and on social media that'll help you cover sports in the area, that'll, give you an idea of what's going on around town if you want to be in the know, as it were. But that was a heck of a game last night. It was an incredible performance from both teams. It's one of those games where you see it and you go, well, it's a shame that anybody had to lose this one, right? Like, it's a shame that somebody had to lose. Unfortunately, that's how sports work. And Central High School came out with the W, which, if I'm not mistaken, according to the Times Free Press, Stephen Hargis of the Times Free Press, it was Central's first season opening win in 4 years. So it's been a while since Central opened the season with a W, and an impressive W it was. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Just a little bit more news because I'm talking about football that matters, right? Like, I try not to get onto the NFL too early, right? Because the NFL is playing all of this preseason football. None of these games matter quite as much as people are led to believe. They act like it matters a ton. It does not matter that much, right? We in the evaluation process and in the process of these players trying to make teams and coaches trying to figure out who should make the roster. Sure, it matters to them. But as a fan, it really doesn't matter to you. Most of these guys that get cut from these teams, you probably never see them again, and you don't know them, right? Like maybe they wind up on other rosters. Maybe they might wind up not being able to make it in the league. Maybe they go to arena football. Maybe they go to Canadian football, wherever it is that they have to go to continue their dreams of playing football. But you never see or hear from them again. You don't know who most of these guys are unless someone does something absolutely exceptional. You don't know. Like, let's not act like all of these games matter to you. So no, I'm going to talk about high school football, and I'm going to talk about the Gridiron Development Football League, a league that Chattanooga is involved in. The Chattanooga Eagles are very much in play here for a championship. Right? And I think that this is going to be a very interesting matchup. Chattanooga plays the Thunder. I'm trying to figure out here where the Thunder are from, actually. In the GDFL title. So Chattanooga, the Eagles have a chance to bring home a title. It's been fun. We've gotten the chance here at Nooga Radio to follow Chattanooga, follow the Eagles throughout this season, covered a number of games, covered the first two games of the playoff, which were home games for the Eagles, and the Oklahoma Thunder, which is just a great name. Not the football team now. The GDFL football team, they were able to win 56-0 over the Starkville Steel Dogs. And so now Chattanooga faces them tomorrow at 3 in the afternoon for the title. I'll give you an update on that this upcoming Monday. But this is, as far as the summertime goes, the last of the football games that matter. I kind of miss it. There's this feeling that I get whenever I watch sports and you get to the championship game of the sport. The championship game that makes you realize you're not going to have this for a while. We're not going to have the Chattanooga Eagles until next summer. And it's kind of bumming me out a little bit. I've enjoyed being able to go to those games. I've enjoyed watching guys lay it all out on the line. They play so hard and they're so good, especially I think in crunch time, in making the big plays that matter. I've seen this Eagles team throughout the season. They've been dynamic all season long. And the last play that I saw them make here in Chattanooga was not last week, but the week before, when they had to make a goal line stand against Huntsville to just keep Huntsville out of the end zone as time was expiring, a walk-off goal line stand. That to me is what fun is about. I look forward to following and covering this team more as we go on through next season. We're going to try and get more involved in that from the beginning. It was one of those things where I did not know about the GDFL at the beginning of the summer, but by the end of the summer, I was glad that I met everybody involved. The owner of the team, the head coach, Coach Hayden Clark, Coach Zach, all of the coaches that I've been able to meet, quarterback Kobe Copeland, they're all great guys, and it's all been fun to follow that team. This season, Chattanooga could have some hardware and have a title. Do we get to call ourselves Title Town? Listen, I don't know, because I have a history of rooting for teams that don't win things, okay? Listen to me now. I'm a Wizards fan. I'm a Redskins fan. I'm a Nationals fan. I root for Washington sports, which is a clinic in disappointment, if you should know, right? I'm a Capitals fan when I watch hockey. It's a clinic in disappointment. It's a clinic in your team is the number one seed in hockey. You choke and lose in the first round. It's a clinic in the Nationals have been amazing. They have Bryce Harper, who is the second best player in baseball, if you're going to say Mike Trout is the best. Can't get it done, right? They've got Max Scherzer. They've got Steven Strasburg. They've got themselves a nice little pitching rotation. Can't pitch in the 7th and 8th innings of games. Like no relievers whatsoever. I root for the Redskins, who for the last 20 years have bordered on incompetent. When they haven't bordered on incompetent, they've choked away everything that they've gotten. I'm about to choke away having an entire franchise quarterback, which is just an interesting prospect in and of itself. And then I watched the Wizards, who lately have been good. Best player on the team, didn't score any point, did not hit a shot from the field in Game 7 of a playoff game last year. I'm still happy with his performance. The bench got outscored something like 52-15. It was insanity. It was madness, right? I root for Washington sports. And I say all of that to say I am not used to winning. And in my entire lifetime, I have not seen any of those teams come back with a championship, right? The Redskins did win a championship in my lifetime. I was also 2 years old. So I don't even get to count that on my resume of things. I don't remember it. I didn't see it. My parents didn't even live in Washington when that happened. So I don't know. I've got nothing on that one. And then I grew up in Texas a little bit as well because, as I mentioned, my dad is in the Army. We moved around. And so the Texas Longhorns won a national title in 2005. I remember seeing that. That is the only national title for a team I have ever supported that I have seen. So pardon me if I am a little bit excited for the Chattanooga Eagles and their opportunity to come back with some hardware, a team that I actually have supported, coming away with a championship. I want to be a part of that, and I am staking my flag right here. I hopped on the bandwagon at the beginning of this season. I interviewed Coach Clark on the phone at the beginning of this season. I was officially on the bandwagon. I was telling all of you to get on the bandwagon. We've got championship potential here. We've got championship potential. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. It's become a pretty popular thing to talk about this Mayweather-McGregor fight, in large part because Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor are so good at selling this fight. I will give them credit for this. The only reason why anybody is interested in this fight is that they have done a magnificent job of selling the fight. I mean, every aspect of this has been perfectly staged, and it's so interesting because I don't feel like Conor and Floyd are talking to each other. I don't feel like they're communicating when they're trying to figure out how to get butts in those seats and get pay-per-view buys. I don't think that they're communicating. I just think that they are both so talented fight promoters that they can get people interested in something that is ultimately not going to be interesting, right? We started all the way back in July when we started doing these press conferences, this press tour that they were both doing, where they were both being terrible human beings and saying racial things about each other and saying things about each other's country. Floyd said a number of inflammatory things about that I'm sure Conor is not happy about, as Conor McGregor is in fact Irish. Conor said some things about black people that nobody is happy about. Floyd said some things with homophobic slurs in it that nobody is happy about. And it was just this fantastic race to the bottom to see who could be the most corrupt, worst human being in this fight, so that you could hopefully watch them both get into the ring and get a double knockout, right? Like just both of them knock each other out in the ring. That to me would be a great result. I would pay to see that, but the odds of that are so low that it's not worth paying for. And as I mention every day, if you pay for this fight, you are in fact a sucker of the highest order. The next thing that they did was argue about glove size. That Conor McGregor fights in the UFC. The gloves weigh practically nothing in that sport. And Floyd actually usually fights at a lower weight division and fights in 8-ounce gloves. Conor McGregor said that if they didn't fight at 10-ounce gloves, they fought at 8-ounce gloves. That basically he'd have a better chance, right? The gloves would be lighter. It would be closer to what he is accustomed to. And so he's talking about all of that stuff. He's talking about, well, I'm going to knock Floyd out in 4 rounds. Well, they appealed the boxing commission, the Nevada boxing commission, and Nevada said, fine, you want 8 ounces? You got 8 ounces. So now both guys are fighting at 8 ounces, even though no one would ever have believed that it could happen, right? Like Floyd said, I'll fight at 8 if he wants to fight at 8. They appealed the commission. The commission said, sure, 8, which to me is insanity. I never have seen anything like this before. And now Conor, so emboldened by the fact that his gloves will be lighter, said that he will not knock out Floyd in 4 rounds, but in fact will knock him out in 2. Floyd is like, look, I fight at 8 ounces. This favors me. And somehow that's gotten to be a topic of conversation. Conor turned his entire controversy with ex-boxer Paulie Malignaggi into a bonus that makes you either believe that Conor is better at boxing than we are giving him credit for, that Paulie is lying, or that Conor is this despicable person that you'd love to see punched in the face anyway, which means you will buy the fight or show up to the fight to see it. Then Floyd Mayweather comes out and talks about his strip club called Girls Collection, which, if you could take the concept of a strip club, which is already a misogynistic concept, and make that more misogynistic by calling it Girls Collection, his actual collection of girls, as he refers to it, he said he will be celebrating there all week. You can go to Girls Collection, you can meet Floyd Mayweather, you can party with Floyd Mayweather the entire week, not after the fight, though you can do that too, but before the fight. Like, the amount of insane and ridiculous and spectacle that this is, that Conor McGregor is popping off his mouth at every twist and turn, and that Floyd Mayweather is popping off his mouth at every twist and turn, and somehow we are meeting in the middle with a level of terrible that is actually worth watching on some level. Not worth paying for, mind you, just worth watching. That the spectacle is actually worth seeing somehow. I don't know how it is that those two guys have managed to make that happen, except to say that they are brilliant, brilliant promoters of the fight game. They understand it at an incredibly high level, and never before in my life have I ever seen something go this perfectly for two guys who deserve it less. Punch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Carol Gaddy, a 69-year-old woman from the Dunlap area, held as a political prisoner in Hamilton County, day 5. Langston, the victim of a shooting on South Kelly Street on Monday, died of his injuries on Thursday, turning his attempted murder case into a murder case. The Violent Crimes Bureau is investigating. And 20-year-old Tyler Thomas was shot on Oakland Avenue. He was rushed to the hospital by EMS, and the Violent Crimes Bureau is investigating. A box truck from Penske was stolen at the American Stage Company on Tennessee Avenue, and the company was able to track down its location thanks to a GPS transponder hidden inside. Charles Eric Brown was arrested on McGill Cemetery Road, charged with theft over $65,000. He denied knowing anything about the burglary, but his parents said they saw him driving the truck. A fight broke out between two students at Orchard Knob Middle School. One was arrested by the SRO, the other treated for minor injuries, not hospitalized. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's fast forecast now. Temperatures going down for our evening, down to 76, high today of 90. But as the sun goes down, should get down to a pleasant temperature. Overnight, there's a very minute possibility of isolated thunderstorms throughout the Chattanooga area, but not high enough to worry about. If you're wondering about the weekend, well, highs in the 90s, Sunday 93, very hot, low 71. For the eclipse on Monday, partly cloudy, possibly obscuring your vision. That's your fast forecast now.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Jim lost 84 pounds of fat in just 3 months. 84 pounds of fat in just 3 months without a single powdered meal or shake, no diet pills, no gimmicks. He is a cardiac nurse, and he knew that if he didn't do something, he would be the next one laying on the table getting stents in his heart. RSVP now to join us for our free health and wellness seminar at 240-440-1379. This will be our only seminar in Chattanooga, 240-440-1379.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339.
When you shop online for a weapon, you avoid the sales tax. But now you can buy local at Shooter Supply, and you'll do just as well, if not better. Here's how. 10% off of ammo and accessories, or 20% off of the handgun permit class, or you can get 20% off the range membership. You deduct the taxes online, and at Shooters, you do even better. And let Shooter's consignment program turn that rifle into cold, hard cash. Shooter Supply, Hickson. Shooters Supply, Hickson.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
This is Thomas DeMoss with Keller Williams Realty. I am a realtor in Chattanooga. We list and sell homes, work with buyers, work with home sellers. I have been involved in real estate for over 10 years. My background is as a real estate investor. That is what I bring to the table, is that real estate investor mindset. My job is to help you sell your house for the most money, employing the best marketing strategy and walking you through what can be a rather stressful process. So we are encouraging people who are on the fence or even thought about selling their house to give us a call. There's no obligation. We're just here to kind of have a conversation, let people know what the process is like, what the market is like, what values they can expect to receive. We work with buyers as well. I also have a buyer's agent that works exclusively with my buyers because we want to give our clients as much attention as we can. My cell phone number is 423-364-0028. Our website is northriverpropertygroup.com. That's northriverpropertygroup.com. We'd love for you guys to call us.
Hi, I'm David Crockett, and I'm here with David Tulis, and we're having a little discussion over who's the number one Nooga centrist. If you want to keep up with free market ideas, then read Nooganomics.com. David Tulis, the blogger with the biggest pen.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree? Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio.
You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. I hate people so much. You hear that? That's me banging my head against the mic. Listen to me. Listen to me. Conor McGregor will hit Floyd Mayweather cleanly in this fight 0 times. I am tired of receiving any tweet, any text, anything from I get texts from my friends that are just like, "Oh, why don't you give Conor a chance?" Because this is a boxing ring with a fight against a professional boxer, which Conor McGregor is not, with not just a professional boxer, but the greatest boxer of this generation of boxers. What are you talking about? How is this a conversation that any of you are having? Well, then they changed it to the 8-ounce gloves. This is why I was just saying the promotion of the fight, that Floyd and Conor understand the fight game better than anybody else doing it in the business right now, because the fight game doesn't care which combat sport you're in. The fight game doesn't care if you're a boxer, if you're an MMA fighter, if you do judo, wrestling, Muay Thai. The fight game does not care. The fight game is not about the fight. The fight game is about selling the fight. And better than anybody else on this planet is Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. And boy, they've got you. Whoever it is, and I don't want to name names. I have very smart friends, people whose minds I usually respect. So I'm not going to put anybody on blast. But boy, they got you. They got you, hook, line, and sinker. Well, now that they're wearing 8-ounce gloves, do you think that Conor's got it? No! What? No, he does not have a chance. He didn't have a chance when they were at 10. He doesn't have a chance if they're wearing 15-ounce gloves. He doesn't have a chance if they're slap boxing. If Conor cannot kick Floyd, can't elbow Floyd, can't use arm bars, knee bars, rear naked chokes, full Nelsons, half Nelsons on Floyd, Conor McGregor has 0 chance to win this fight. But what about Conor McGregor's left hand? It's a dangerous left hand. Let's see it land first. It's not going to. The last person that had a powerful left hand that could land cleanly on Floyd. Because in fairness to anybody pointing this out, the one weakness of Floyd's defensive style of fighting, the shell style, as Floyd is a traditional boxer, is that somebody who is a southpaw fighter with power in their left hand can hit with the left hand better, more cleanly, and more frequently than a traditional fighter, or someone who is not a southpaw, or someone whose power is mostly in their right. I get that. But listen to me. Floyd has fought southpaws before. Floyd has beaten southpaws before. The last person that he fought, where you all sat down and said, this fight is boring, I don't like this fight, was a southpaw with power in his left hand named Manny Pacquiao. And Manny Pacquiao, who will go down as the second greatest boxer in this generation of boxers, in my opinion. Love for Manny. Manny was my favorite boxer my whole life following boxing. Manny couldn't touch him. Conor, who doesn't throw hands as fast as Manny, who doesn't have the boxing prescience of a Canelo Alvarez, who doesn't understand dominating the ring and cutting it off like Marcos Maidana and Zab Judah and Miguel Cotto. All guys who were effective early against Floyd, but didn't win. Then why are you so hell-bent on giving Conor McGregor a chance? Okay? As long as the sport that they are doing is boxing, Floyd wins. If they fight on the moon, Floyd wins. Okay? All right. Whew. Got heated on that one because I don't understand what you're saying. Well, you gotta give Conor a chance. You're underestimating Conor. Yes, I'm underestimating Conor. In fact, I'm not underestimating him. I'm accurately underestimating him, and I am placing his value as low in a boxing ring, where he's not a boxer. Okay? I'm not telling you that Conor can't beat some scrub. I'm not telling you that Conor can't beat, the guy that's 15th ranked in pound for pound. I'm telling you he can't beat the number one in pound for pound, Floyd Mayweather. And I hate that I have to do this. I hate that I have to stand here and explain this like I am some Floyd Mayweather fan. I hate Floyd Mayweather. Okay? I picked Pacquiao to beat him, and everybody that came before Pacquiao, I picked to beat Floyd, but at least I was picking boxers. I was picking guys who do the same thing that Floyd does. At least I was picking those guys. Right? I was one of those fools that I picked Mosley to beat Floyd. I picked Maidana both times. I paid for the second Maidana fight. What? I hate Floyd. I don't want to have to stand here explaining why Floyd is great. Nothing hurts my heart more. Nothing hurts my heart more. I'm actually explaining how it is that the Redskins could somehow manage to lose their starting quarterback on just sheer incompetence. That hurts more. But that's the only thing that hurts more to me. That's it. That's all. It's all I've got in the pain category. I am tired of explaining this. Right? I never get tired of calling people suckers who are going to pay for this fight and expect a fight. Now, if you pay for this fight and expect a spectacle, you're going to get your spectacle. I promise. You get your money's worth on that end. Know what you're getting. Know what you're getting into with this fight, and don't pretend as though this is going to be anything barring competitive. I don't think the fight goes the distance, to be honest with you. Floyd Mayweather is knocked out like one guy in 10 years, and that was a guy that wasn't paying attention when he knocked him out. Yeah, okay. Floyd Mayweather could knock out Conor McGregor in this fight. Floyd Mayweather is a master of the counterpunch. And people go, well, what if Conor just runs across the ring at Floyd to try and beat him up? Right? Because people say that, like, okay, Floyd Mayweather has fought other boxers before. He's fought other guys that have showed up and tried to box him. No one's ever run across the ring and tried to dominate Floyd. That's not actually true. Miguel Cotto, his whole strategy was to run across the ring and dominate Floyd, right? Like Miguel Cotto, when you look at him, he's not a pure boxer. Like Miguel Cotto is not a guy that is out here and he's throwing jabs and gauging your distance and hitting you with a variety. Like, watch Miguel Cotto fight and tell me if that looks like a man with a plan. He's a brawler. Marcos Maidana is a brawler. And by the way, when you talk about people who are not afraid of Floyd and don't know how to be afraid of Floyd, that's the reason why Floyd wins. It's the whole Alabama effect. People show up to play Alabama. They show up to play the Crimson Tide and cannot defeat the Crimson Tide in large part because you're in your own head. You don't believe you can beat Alabama, so you can't. Marcos Maidana does not watch fights that he does not fight in. The only fights that Marcos Maidana watches are replays of his own fights. Marcos Maidana gets better by studying himself. So I love Marcos Maidana. I think he's a great fighter. He's a guy, he gets better by studying his own self. So Marcos Maidana was not afraid of Floyd Mayweather because Marcos Maidana didn't know to be afraid of Floyd Mayweather because Marcos Maidana didn't watch Floyd Mayweather or anybody else. He just came up with his own game plan. He's a brawler too. He pushed Floyd around for 4 or 5 rounds. He made that look like a fight. And then for the next 6 to 7 rounds, Floyd Mayweather dominated him in the first fight, and he was not nearly as productive in the second. Once Floyd figures you out, he is almost impossible to beat. If you think Conor McGregor is just going to show up and run across the ring and that's going to do something to Floyd, I mean, you're insane. People have done it before. Cotto has done it before. Maidana's done it before. Judah's done it before. And it didn't work. You know what this is. It doesn't work. Why are we acting like this is like anything that Conor McGregor can try is not something that someone has already tried in a boxing ring? Like, one of the reasons why you have to give Floyd the edge here is the 20 years of fighting experience. Anything that someone can come up with that maybe Conor McGregor could try to do to throw Floyd off his game can't be thought of because it's already happened. What if he charges him? Well, I already told you. You can't, that doesn't work. Okay, what if he tries to set him up for the left hand being a southpaw? Well, how many southpaws has Floyd Mayweather defeated? Manny Pacquiao included. Anybody that's tried to fight Floyd Mayweather southpaw, Zab Judah. Anybody that's tried to fight him southpaw has not been successful. People have been able to rock him a little bit. People have been able to punish him a little bit, but that was early in his career, not now, and not from some guy that does not box for the last time. How is this possible? How is this possible? I have to explain this to anybody at all ever. And I'm not a boxing guru. I'm not a boxing wizard, but I will tell you this. I've been watching boxing for 12 years now. Okay? And I've seen all kinds of styles and I've seen all kinds of fights. And for the last 12 years, I've seen every Mayweather fight for the last 12 years. And I cannot come up with a way to beat the guy, okay? He's a master of the counter punch. The pull counter is the most vicious thing that I've seen him throw. Where you think you have him in range and he leans back and now you're overextended and he rocks into his punch to your face. I've not ever seen anything like that. He's baffled everyone. He's baffled absolutely everyone. Right? Like I listened to Andre Berto, which was Floyd's last fight, which went the distance, by the way, because Andre Berto is a talented fighter. And I don't care what Floyd says about not being expected to go the distance with Berto. Yes, you were expected to go the distance with Berto. Berto's a very good fighter. Andre Berto talks about fighting Floyd, talks about how aware Floyd is, how Floyd looks at the clock, how when you end up in a clinch with Floyd, Floyd is actually doing that on purpose to catch his breath, that Floyd is capable of understanding time, distance, situation. He was describing a ghost. It sounded like Andre was describing fighting a ghost. And Andre Berto is a good boxer. I watched Manny Pacquiao try and hit Floyd, and it was like watching someone fight a ghost. Or you know that scene in Fight Club where he's fighting himself? I mean, that's what it looked like. I mean, it looked like a guy trying to fight a ghost. And these guys are good boxers. So don't tell me that Conor has a chance. And don't tell me about the 8-ounce gloves They could be fighting with no gloves. As long as they're boxing, the advantage is to Mayweather. As long as it's boxing that's happening. You understand? Okay? If all of a sudden Conor could throw a knee bar in there, right? Hit him with a Kimura. If he can do those things, then yeah, I'll give it to Conor. But not before then. Not before then. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. So I'd like to end the show on a more serious note. Right? We did talk about race earlier in the show. We will talk about race one more time. And not to annoy you and not to bother you, even though many people have told me that when I talk about race on this show, they are annoyed and, in fact, bothered. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how to help you with that problem. When you get on the air, when you get on radio, you talk about what you know. That is your job. I can't talk about things that I don't know. And I know race because I'm a black person in America. And I understand at least the way that I am made to feel in this country. I know that. So I got to talk about it when it gets to an intersection of the sports world. Got to talk about it. Right? And I'm not the only person with this opinion, right? The reason why we have all of these athletes protesting is, in fact, because they feel like they have to talk about it too. They have to talk about what it is that they know, what it is that they've experienced, and what they would like to share with everybody else. And I disagree, by the way, with this notion that you need to have this specific protest in mind, because I've heard that this entire week. I've heard that this entire week, where, well, what are they protesting? Well, Colin Cowherd was pretty specific, right? Police brutality was a very specific subject matter to be protesting. I honestly don't know if Michael Bennett and Malcolm Jenkins, are protesting those similar things as well. But what I will tell you is when you want to raise awareness just about how it feels to be in the country, right? I don't think a protest has to be specific. Okay? Because what you're trying to do is start a conversation. And in this case, I think simply be seen. I think simply be seen. I think those guys would settle for being noticed, being recognized, and having your problems and having your feelings validated in that way by the other people who live in this country. Okay, and not just the people that look like you. Everybody else. But since the clamoring exists for specific protests, how about this? Grizzlies head coach David Fizdale is asking Memphis to remove Confederate statues, which to me is the hot button topic of the day, given Charlottesville, right? Charlottesville, Virginia. I honestly think when we look back at this in history, it's going to be one of those moments in history where things changed, and we all were there to see it, right? Because we've seen more clamoring for the removal of Confederate statues after that than before, right? And the kind of people who are protesting these actions, I honestly do not think are indicative of the people who feel as though Confederate statues should be left up, right? I don't think that every person who believes that a Confederate statue shouldn't be removed is a white supremacist or a neo-Nazi or whatever, like or the KKK. I don't believe that. I don't believe that all of the people who say, well, I don't want this torn down because this is a part of the history of my country and this is part of the history of the area in which I live. I don't want this torn down for that reason. I don't think that the white supremacists that showed up to protest that, I don't think that they are indicative of the people who actually feel that way. I think that the white supremacists saw that as a thing that they could latch their horse onto and latch their cause onto, and as a result made everybody else look really, really bad. And I think actually exacerbated the situation now because everybody is running to tear these other Confederate statues down, in large part because if that's the kind of crowd that this is going to attract, then by all means take it all down. But I do think that there is a level of nuance here, that I don't think you just take down Confederate statues merely because they are Confederate statues. I think there has to be some middle ground there where if you're taking these things down, why? I think there is a certain school of thought that believes that if you have a statue isn't just a representation of history, the same way something in a museum is a representation of history. I think that a statue is specifically a celebration, and not just a statue, but when you name a high school or when you name a town or when you name a road after a Confederate general, that's not just that you are remembering the past, but on some level you are celebrating that past. And I see the merit in that line of thinking, and I completely understand it. I am one who believes that when you have something like a Confederate statue, because I noticed, by the way, that a lot of people who are clamoring for Confederate statues to be taken down are, in fact, people who do not live where Confederate statues are, right? It's a part of people's history that they are proud of, right? And I think that the idea that if you are proud of a Confederate heritage that you have, you are somehow automatically a racist. I don't agree with that. Okay, I've met too many people, and I know too many people in my life who like me, right? And again, this is my personal experience. Too many people in my life who like me, who have Confederate flags at their houses, who wear Confederate flags on their hats, and like me as just a human being. For me to believe that this is simply pure racism. And I don't think, by the way, that having those statues up suddenly makes you proud of the institution of slavery. Right? It suddenly makes you proud of wanting to own slaves. But I think there is an idea, there is a way to go about doing this and having this discussion and having this conversation that doesn't just start with, hey, let's just tear down all the statues. Because I don't think that we fully fleshed out and talked enough about what it is that these things mean in the areas where they stand. That a statue being a celebration is something that it feels like Northerners decided. And I'm all for racial equality. Nobody wants it more than me. I'm just saying, make sure you're equal with everybody. Don't label everybody, because that's what we're trying to get away from.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
You've been in a wreck.
756-6